morning, everyone. Thank you for your time. Look, we have put a lot of, content and effort into this moving to a Cloud ERP webinar. From both a functional user level to a technical level, hopefully everyone gets a good amount of value for their time. My name's Adair. I'm the Sales Director of FUJIFILM MicroChannel. I'll be leading the session, but there'll be a number of other people from the MicroChannel team that will join me as we go through. I'll just jump on the agenda slide. Please note that today will be recorded, so we will be able to send out a recording to everyone pretty soon after the session. There is a Q&A box. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them inside the Q&A box, and the MicroChannel team that's online will attempt to answer those questions as soon as we can in real time, hopefully during this webinar. In terms of the agenda, what we have for you today, as you'll see in front of you, we're going to go through a fair bit, quickly touch on what is Cloud ERP. We've divided the benefits into sort of 3 areas, and we'll run through those areas. We're going to include a fair bit of demonstration, even from an IT infrastructure perspective. We're going to have a demonstration around a typical administration console. We're going to be showing you some demonstrations of a Cloud ERP and some of the more modern things that Cloud ERPs are able to do, and then touch on some of the strategies that our customers are using to move to Cloud ERP. Please note, look, we are using the Microsoft Cloud. The Microsoft is your cloud today as the context or the context to a lot of our demonstrations, but we're not going to be so parochial to say that Microsoft's better than a Sage or an Oracle or whatever the other clouds. Obviously, there's 3 or 4 very large cloud vendors out there, and they'll all basically say, from a benefit perspective, they are at a different level to what the on-premise applications can do. So let's just move along and get into it. Just before we go into the benefits, I thought it was important just to highlight, at the end of the day, any of these benefits of Cloud ERP need to impact your business the way that any investment would impact your business. Now, there was a PwC survey done recently, and 86% of CEOs consider digital as their #1 priority. And the reasons for that were very focused on where we would think. For the customer in particular, customer engagement, customer experience, customer loyalty, as well as employees. And those 2 aspects of customer and your employee satisfaction, loyalty, and their productivity are really behind all the benefits that we're going to be touching on today. Just to, it's always nice to update these slides. At the moment, there's now more than 5 billion active internet users, more than 1 billion active social media users. I don't count myself in one of those, but I might be in that. And more than 15 billion connected IoT devices. So the fact that if we can get our ERP system and the way that we engage with our customers, our own employees, into what is the latest trend out there, that is fundamentally where a lot of these benefits are coming from. So let's get into it. Just quickly, what is Cloud ERP? I think there's 2 big points to this. The first is that a Cloud ERP is an ERP system that is provided as software as a service, SaaS, through a web browser. And that software as a service and SaaS is going to really, there'll be a lot of benefits that are based upon that. And that the underlying IT infrastructure is managed by that ERP vendor. It's not managed what might be called a private cloud. It's not a third party that fundamentally your IT infrastructure could nearly be on-premise. All it is someone else's on-premise. No, it's actually the ERP vendor, the vendor that's connecting your ERP system to the rest of the world. And we'll talk about services, and we'll talk about all the things that, I guess, when your ERP is connected to the cloud, what that means. Today, we're not going to differentiate between, sometimes you hear this conversation of, oh, my system's multi-tenanted, or my system's a single-tenanted Cloud ERP system. Just quickly, a multi-tenanted system means that your data can actually be, the business logic that your data is being used by, other people's data can also be using that same business logic, right? While a single-tenanted solution is, the business logic of your ERP system is only going to be working with your data. So, multi-tenanted systems, I would suggest, are technically superior. and that does come with benefits, but also those benefits are comparative. There are some organizations, depending on their circumstances, their preferences, they actually wouldn't want to be part of a multi-tenanted scenario. But I'm not going to go down that hole because there are so many common benefits between whether it's single-tenant or multi-tenanted that we'll go through. So, as I mentioned before, when we go through the benefits of Cloud ERP, we're going to just divide it into 3 areas. The IT benefits, which are significant, we'll spend a fair bit of time on that. We're not going to spend much time on the functional benefits, but I will do a quick demonstration of that. But the interoperability is going to be a large part of today, where your processes, your data can utilize what modern cloud computing today enables. So that's going to be a big part of today. Just touching on the IT infrastructure benefits of Cloud ERP. Again, I will be using the Microsoft Azure and the Microsoft ERPs as the example here, but they're, be it Sage or SAP or NetSuite or any of those cloud providers, it's going to be quite similar. Firstly, just around scalability. If your organization grows massively, you don't have any IT infrastructure concerns there, the cloud is elastic, and that's the way that cloud infrastructure has been made. Costs are predictable. If your organization grows, you should know as an organization what the costs are going to be as your organization grows. And also, if the areas of business that would close down, you're going to reduce the number of users. Again, that cost predictability for the future should be very easy to understand from an accounting perspective. Accessibility is huge. The idea of cloud computing is wherever you are, wherever you wake up in the morning, you can access your ERP system. You can see what's happening in your business. You can, if you're responsible for approvals, you can approve things. Even if you're on holidays, you might need to approve payments and just spend 5 minutes in there. The accessibility and mobility is a massive advantage wherever you are in the world. A big aspect that it seems to be getting bigger is just around security, privacy, and compliance. Just on security and privacy, and Floyd is going to touch on some of this shortly when I introduce him from a demonstration perspective. The security and privacy that cloud infrastructure allows is something that could only be bought if you're in one of the largest organizations in the world. And just from a compliance perspective, I've just listed there all the compliance certificates that the Microsoft ERP systems have. And I know this might be important for organizations that have got health records or in finance. But more and more we're finding that if you've got large customers, they want to know if your systems are secure and private, and if they've gone through compliance audits. I know here at MicroChannel, we deal with some of the big majors. They want to know that our systems have got these certificates. And so that's becoming more important that we're finding as well, just to have those pieces of papers in the audits. One of the big things is that the vendor of your software is in charge, guarantees the performance, is guaranteeing the availability of your solution. In the case of Microsoft applications, you can choose where your data sits. If you're in Sydney, you might want your primary data to be in Sydney, but then you want your data to be geo-replicated. In the case of Microsoft, every 5 seconds, your data gets geo-replicated to that secondary area. So, for example, that will be Melbourne. So the most amount of data you could lose in the case of, and let's call it a catastrophic failure, a bomb dropping or a bus hitting, whatever it is, the most amount of data you could lose is 5 seconds. And your backups are taken every 5 minutes. Your backups are retained up to 35 days. So all of that backup infrastructure is being taken care of for you easily. Microsoft is guaranteeing the uptime. And as Floyd, when I introduce him, will show you that your cloud provider will know if there's an issue with your system in terms of performance before you do. And the control and ease that cloud computing, cloud ERPs enable an IT team is massive. And I am going to introduce the director of our Microsoft Business Applications team, Floyd, and who's also the director of our D365 Cloud Services team. I'm going to get Floyd just to drill down more around the administration of your Cloud ERP, the security of it, touch on telemetry, and really just give you a demonstration of that control and ease of Cloud ERP. So, Floyd, welcome to the webinar.
Thank you very much, Adair, and hello, everyone, and good morning. I am looking forward to talking today a little more about just what you can look for in a cloud ERP and just, how easy it is to do various things in the cloud compared to what you would do traditionally on an on-premise environment. So to start out, I will cover off just a little bit around administration. When you're looking at a cloud ERP, normally you'll find that you have a very centralized portal where you can manage all the features, functionality, all the key things that you need to do in terms of managing your day-to-day operations with the ERP system. Traditionally on-premise, you had to set up your own tools, configure various things and touch points across those environments, from networking to infrastructure and all those various aspects to be able to, see what's happening in an environment. With the cloud ERP, you get access to the portal. All of that is pretty much set up for you right from the start. The benefit here is that the IT departments love this because it ultimately limits the overhead that's required to maintain those environments, be able to set up all that backend configuration. It's already ready to go, and be able to manage. And even if you're not within IT, it's still very easy for a user who's not technical to be able to do day-to-day operations in that environment. The other benefit that you'll see, what I'll showcase to you, is just how simple it is to be able to do things such as refreshing environments, doing, creating new environments, doing things that traditionally on-premise would take days or maybe hours, you can do within minutes. So what I will do is just do a little bit of a demonstration of what it is like on a cloud environment with the administration. So let's see. So on this page here, you'll see an example of an administration portal. And for my example, I'm using Business Central. As you can see, when I log in here, you see the whole entire environments that are available. In my case, I've got a few production environments that I'm maintaining, a few sandbox environments for testing and training and various purposes, and ultimately just able to see all the things within one simple view. I can actually drill within these environments. For this example, I'll drill into the Cloud ERP demo environment. Within here, I can see further details of what's involved within that environment, everything from the URL to click in and access the ERP, which I can share to the users, to also seeing what version I'm running. Ultimately, from the Microsoft Cloud environments, when you talk across all the Dynamics 365 environments, there are usually multiple updates that occur throughout the year. On a monthly basis, you'll find that there's always enhancements coming. When we look at the various environments, you can also see what country is deployed. So when it comes to Dynamics 365 Cloud ERP, it's available within multiple countries globally. And as Adair was mentioning earlier, you can also see the region that's it's been deployed to from the Microsoft environment perspective. So in this case, I've deployed an environment in Australia East, and that environment is being geo-replicated with the database across multiple data centers, providing a 99.95% guarantee, or sorry, 99.9% guarantee across the environments. So within this, I can also see that I can do various activities such as copy my environment. So if I wanted to copy this and create a duplicate of this environment for sandbox purposes, but not make changes to this environment, I can do that within a couple clicks. I can restore from a point in time within this environment. So if I select that option, it'll give me a box that says, where do I want to restore from? I can select a time that goes back from 28 days prior to today. I can select a very specific point in time, and then I can ultimately restore that and start working in that environment within a matter of minutes. I can also do rename operations. I can delete this environment, and I can also do a refresh of that environment. Within the administration portal, there's also the ability to set up notification recipients. So you can set up who gets updates regarding what's happening with the environment, whether it's a new version becoming available. If there's an issue with the environment, such as an outage notification, you'll be able to, see what's happening from that point of view. I can link up various apps into the environment as well. I can see telemetry, which I will touch on as well, and even report outages within the environment. So if there's an issue, I don't have to wait to be able to report that problem. I can actually go from here in the administration portal, report the issue. In this case of this example of Business Central, Microsoft will take priority on this ticket, and they will look at the issue and then ultimately rectify it very quickly. I can see operations as far as what's happening in the environment. If I do a refresh or if someone does a change to an environment, all those items are tracked and recorded. and then also track capacity and see how much space is available within the environment to work with. So all these things are available readily from the time I spin up the Business Central environment. I can see all of these things right away and start working with it. So now I'll just flip back to the presentation and just continue to talk across a couple other things that we have regarding the environments. So in addition to administration, we do have recovery options. So you did see in that environment how I could delete, restore, rename environments. Now, with a Cloud ERP, you also have the ability in many cases to be able to recover very quickly. Now, in this case, a Business Central, as you're seeing on the screen, I had an issue with my production environment. I need to see what's happened within a certain point in time. I can go ahead and create a second copy of my production environment in the case of Business Central and see what, and be able to diagnose that issue and rectify that issue without having to touch the actual live environment. So this is something that becomes available to me. No additional costs are involved to do it. It's something I can just do right from the administration environment. In this case of this example that you're seeing here, I was able to spin up this replica production environment and it was ready for me within a matter of a few minutes. Now, the other option that I'll talk on is just around security. So with on-premise environments, historically, you were always responsible for everything related to the ERP that you were managing. Everything from the physical data center to the networking within that data center, the servers that host that infrastructure for the ERP, the actual application itself, and all the various pieces in between. That was 100% the responsibility of the business. As time has progressed, we've introduced infrastructure as a service where, some of that responsibility moved to a data center where they may manage those host servers. Then ultimately we have platform as a service where it's become more of a hybrid approach. And now with software as a service with the Cloud ERP, it becomes very easy to manage the ERP system because all of the responsibility from the data centers up to networking and actually even the application itself become the responsibility of the cloud provider. So now your focus is solely on just actually accessing the application and ultimately managing the data within. The other benefit that you have when it comes to managing the ERP is that with that data, some people have concerns around just, well, how is my data being managed? What happens with that data? The benefit that you have here is that the data is always your business. You access that data, you modify that data, and you delete it at any time if you have the permission to do so. Microsoft will never use your data without your agreement, and the same applies when you look at other Cloud ERP as well. So when we look as well with telemetry, that's another area that I'll touch on. When it comes to moving to Cloud ERP, sometimes IT or other people may see a challenge when you move to the cloud because you seem to lose the capability of seeing what's happening within your environment. The benefit is when you move to Cloud ERP, you actually still get the ability to see what's happening on every aspect of the application. And in many cases, you get to see even more information than you may actually be expecting. So the benefit that you have with Cloud ERP, and in my example, again, I'll touch on Business Central, and this applies across the whole Dynamics 365 stack. You do have the ability to see everything from users logging into the environment to audit everything that they're doing from sign-in attempts, whether it's a success or failure. You can see the reason for that failure. You can see what type of users are logging in, how long they're logging in for. You pretty much get a full view of what's happening within that environment. You also get to audit various things such as errors that may be occurring. So if there's issues within that environment, you can see that occurring as well. Integration problems, if you have integrations from external systems connecting into your Dynamics 365 environment in this example, you'll be able to see those errors. And in this case, as you'll also see, this is actually in a nice Power BI dashboard. So in my case here, I actually took what I have for the telemetry that's coming in from Business Central, and I've actually represented that data into a Power BI dashboard. So in this case, you can see almost everything that's important to me. You can set up dashboards that are important to the various people within the business, whether it's related to IT functions for security, whether it's related to seeing feature updates that are coming with the application, features that have been installed in the existing application, the usage of the various features within the application, making sure you're getting the full use of your investment. You get a full view of that within the telemetry. And most importantly, I can actually set up proactive alerting. So that is actually probably one of the critical components. So going back to what Adair was talking about, yes, you can actually see, various things that are occurring within the application. Some of those things, automatically are managed by the cloud provider, as Adair mentioned, and they'll know about things before you do. But then also from your perspective, you can also set up your own alerting and see exactly what's happening in that environment. So in this case with telemetry, there's a lot of touch points, and there's always new touch points being added in the Microsoft space in terms of what you can do and manage within that environment. So what I will showcase as well in this example here is just around a little bit with the telemetry. So let's see here. So in my Business Central environments, I've actually set up, an example where I've hooked up telemetry to my Cloud ERP demo environment. So in this case, I've actually configured telemetry to link up to my application insights in Azure, which is a platform as a service capability within the Azure platform that allows me to send data that's coming from my Dynamics 365 ERP into the Microsoft Azure cloud space and application insights, so I can actually take that data and do what I like with it. In this case, what I've done is I've actually set up a couple of alerts within Azure. In this case, I want to know when my environment gets deleted. So I've actually, in this case, set up what's called a logic app. And within my logic app, I've actually set up a few steps within that environment that allow me to see what's happening within that environment. And whenever somebody does an action that deletes an environment, I can actually post a message into my Teams channel. So in this case, I'll get an alert in Teams. Now, you can set up alerts to Teams. You can set up an email alert. You can set up alerts to many different areas from the Azure platform. And in some cases now, you can actually even set up alerts to Power Virtual Agents, which is another very nice service, which is now part of Copilot Studio. So there's a number of ways you can interact with things that are happening within the environment. So in my case, I'm going to go ahead and just actually say, okay, yep, I'll go to my environment. I will select this Cloud ERP demo setup, and I'm just going to go ahead and delete it. Now, the benefit is you will get a number of opportunities before you delete an environment. Microsoft do have a lot of controls in place in the Dynamics 365 space to ensure that you know exactly what you're doing. So in this case, I'm going to say yes, I'll delete that, and then I'll say Cloud ERP demo to confirm that's actually the environment I definitely want to delete. And then I say delete. And then once that's done, you'll see it's already starting the process of self-deleting. Now, in the event that you decide, oh, wait a minute, this actually is not what I wanted to do, you actually are not in full trouble yet because you can still recover that environment. So within the administration portal, I can go to my recently deleted environments, and I can always go and recover an environment. So in this case, I deleted one of my advanced manufacturing demonstration environments. I can see that it's in here. It gives me the option to select it, and then I can recover that environment. And when you recover it, again, within a matter of minutes, that environment's available. So it's not the end of the world if you delete environments. When you're talking about managing Cloud ERP, you have the ability to recover that back, which is a very nice feature. So now that that environment's been deleted, I actually would have received an alert from my environment, and it would have come up in my Teams as a workflow item. So in this case, as you can see, I get an alert from Teams that says my environment has been deleted. It gives me the details of that environment, tells me all the necessary information, and gives me a link to click into the administration portal to say, okay, go in administration portal if you need to restore this environment, and then I can always get it back. So the benefit here is I've got a proactive alert that tells me, hey, that environment's been deleted, make sure that you take an action against that. So it is a very nice feature, and it's a very good ability to be able to recover environments if you ever need to. So just closing that out, like I said, with the telemetry, like so we can audit the application, we can do environmental changes, and we can do that proactive alerting. When we talk about just the IT environment, we do have the ability to manage environment updates, as Adair has mentioned, and be able to control those aspects of the environment.
So look, the last thing, Floyd, just go through the technical updates and the functional updates quickly.
Yep, absolutely. So in terms of the technical updates, there are many updates that occur within Business Central or within Dynamics 365 through the course of a year. You have two major updates that occur throughout the year, and there's updates that occur on a monthly basis. So those are minor updates that may be related to the application, feature enhancements, a number of other things that occur within that setup. With those updates, they are very easy. Again, going back to that administration that I just showed you, you'll be able to set up, who gets notifications for when those updates become available, and ultimately there's a date that's scheduled. And the benefit is you can actually even modify that date. So you can say, look, hey, it's been scheduled for, June the 1st, but you can ultimately set that date for another date that suits you best. You always do get the latest functionality. And the benefit is when you talk about the Cloud ERP, those updates come automatically, they come seamlessly, and you get to make use and, enable those functions as they get delivered to you. When it comes to the customizations that you get seamless access to those customizations that are within the environments. And from here, I'll hand that across to Adair to talk on that.
Yeah. Yep. So just on the functionality, I'm not going to comment much on the functionality because every application is going to have the functionality releases are the functionality releases. But the cloud enables the way that you interact with that new functionality to be so much different. For example, again, I've just gone to the release planner here from Microsoft where you're able to have a look at the functionality that, in this case, Microsoft is releasing at any point in time. So there's 75 features that you can try before you implement it inside your production environment with all of your sandbox environments. And in fact, Lynn shortly is going to demonstrate some of these. Also, the Cloud ERP enables partners, best-of-breed partners who have niche knowledge in particular areas. For example, again, I'm just going to use Business Central as an example here by going to the Microsoft Marketplace. And you'll see when I click on Business Central, there's more than 5,000 apps that have been delivered for Business Central. And obviously, there's some of the e-commerce apps or master data. Obviously, there's a whole heap here, and you can search for those things. But the cloud enables the functionality to be delivered so much easier. And as Floyd said, even if you need to make a customization, which more and more because of the richness of Cloud ERP solutions, you typically aren't customizing as much anymore. Even if you do have customizations, they are seamlessly updated for you in a very easy update once or twice a year. So that's all I'll touch on from a functionality perspective, because that's very application centric. But moving to the interoperability benefits, and again, all of these interoperability benefits are because of it being sitting on a cloud server somewhere. In this case, again, we're touching on the Microsoft cloud servers, but which is giving all your identity and security and privacy and single sign-on and data sovereignty and all those things. But because your ERP systems or your business applications, in this case Dynamics 365, are sitting in the same area as your productivity applications, Excel, Outlook, Teams, you're able to then start using whichever application, be it one of your productivity applications, for example, approving something or communicating with people. It might be best that that's done in Teams or in Outlook. Also, the cloud ERP providers usually have their own suite of additional tools. In the case of Microsoft, it's a Power Platform tools. They've got Microsoft Power BI. And again, that's used because you can move the data from your visualization tool to your ERP tool very easily. Microsoft has something called Power Automate that enables those notifications that Floyd was talking about in that IT environment. But from a user perspective, if you want your users, or be it your receptionist or a C-level, to be notified when something occurs in your cloud ERP, again, the cloud makes that collaboration much easier. So again, that level of core functionality that cloud ERPs are able to deliver is made much easier for the cloud ERP vendor because it's all sitting in the cloud and they've got control of how that data moves. And then it's important to touch on, it's been a buzz now for maybe 18 months, 2 years, this whole idea of AI, artificial intelligence. Now, again, using Microsoft as an example, because your ERP system is able to be accessed by the OpenAI service, and again, there's a few AI services we're focusing on Microsoft, all of a sudden, the way that you interact with your ERP can be different. And I'm going to touch on, there's this term of autonomous ERP. How do we get to this point of ERP? What is AI really doing for ERP users? And there's sort of 4 aspects of this. And there's the lower impact, low sophistication to high impact, high sophistication. And so this is a journey. Our users of Cloud ERP system have been using this functionality for 6 or so months, maybe a little bit longer in some areas, and Lynn's going to show some of these in a moment. But it moves from just guiding users. Now, a user can talk to an ERP system and say, how do I do this? What is this? How do I fix this? To asking your ERP system, please find this data. What does this data mean? And then also generate content or generate reports. And again, Lynn's going to be showing some demonstrations of this. To now, in the last sort of 6 months, we've seen, okay, ERP or the AI on an ERP system looking through the data and saying, hey, this data looks wrong, right? Is there fraud happening, or is this just being inputted incorrectly? Or what are the impacts? What's the risk of what's happening in my ERP system? What are the patterns that are happening? So the ERP system with AI ensuring the best actions. And then the last aspect where we're getting into now, but more and more what we're going to see over the next 12 to 18 months is the ERP actually taking actions for you, automating actions, handling exceptions, but automating defined scenarios when certain things occur where a user has usually had to have a look at something and do something. AI, your co-pilot, is able to do that now. So that's the journey of what AI and Copilot is doing with ERP. And look, I'm just going to quickly touch on these before some of these examples, but this is one of the other Microsoft applications where you can ask it, walk me through this typical scenario, or help me analyze this particular movement, right? Where it's using public documentation. For a while, it's been able to predict customer payments based upon history. Now, this is a bad pay. You're not going to get this in your 14 days. It's going to be here. And that feeding into cash flow forecast. So there are things that are all there happening now. More recently, we've had ERP systems assessing risk when things occur. For example, in this case, when purchase orders are confirmed and there's changes to confirm purchase orders, your ERP system is saying, hey, this has a high risk or a low risk for impacting, say, deliveries to customers or manufacturing orders. But these are some examples. But Lynn, thank you for jumping on. Lynn is one of our solution architects for Business Central, and I'm going to pass over to Lynn to show you some of these functions inside an ERP system live. So, Lynn, thank you and welcome to the webinar.
Thank you, Adair, and good morning, everyone. Today, I'm going to be showing you the benefits of Cloud ERP using Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central, or BC as we sometimes call it. I'm going to show you 2 areas. Firstly, how BC works seamlessly with Outlook, Teams, and basically they're 2 applications that we work with daily. And then I'm going to show you some Copilot functionality within Business Central around bank reconciliations, creating marketing text for your items, and lastly, how to create sales orders based on information from emails. So to start with Outlook and Teams, I'll show you how our customers are accessing their customers' information, drilling into transactions, getting a snapshot of what is happening with their customer, how you can automate certain processes in Business Central, saving you time and very quickly and efficiently sharing information with your colleagues in order to perform certain tasks. So let me just show you. So here we have our Outlook, and all I've done is I've gone into my Business Central and I've actually said turn on the integration with Outlook. So straight away here I have an email is come from John O'Donnell. I've actually just made him a contact on one of my customers in my demo system. And he's actually asking me for a copy of this invoice. So in most instances, what I might want to actually do is say, well, before I send John this email, let me have a look and see what's going on with this particular customer. Now, again, I don't have to go off to Business Central and go and find all this information. It's going to be doing what it's doing right now is it's going back to Business Central. It's pulling all that information and showing it to me within Outlook. So again, I can see here, there's the customer, that's the balance to date so far. And again, it shows me all the invoices, and I've also got the ability to actually drill down into those particular invoices and bring them up if I wanted to. It's giving me a snapshot of my customer and what's actually going on. So I've got a bit of a chart going on. I've got some queues. So straight away I can see, well, we've got 7 sales orders going on at the moment. I've got 2 invoices that we're currently processing. And just giving me some more figures and some more statistics as I scroll down. So again, I can see my outstanding orders, payments. When did John last pay me? So let's just make sure that I can now process or basically give John this copy of this invoice so that he can go ahead and pay me. So once I've had a look, with the Microsoft Artificial Intelligence in the background, what it's done is when you string the word invoice and 103597 together, it knows, or it's smart enough to know to go and find that particular invoice and bring it back. And the beauty for us is with Business Central is giving us that same look and feel. So I'm not learning anything new in here. So again, I can see, okay, John's been buying me some scooters. No problem, I'll send him a copy of an invoice. I just click on my 3 dots and I send that off to him. Now, I have done all of that without actually going into my ERP system, which is making it a lot easier and a lot quicker. I've also used Power Automate so that every time I create a new customer or someone in my organization creates a new customer, it will actually send the customer an email for us. So we don't have to do that. We're getting the system to take care of it. And here you can see an email's gone out. And I've also said to the system, go and attach our master services agreement. So again, you can have functions that you do within Business Central, and you can do automate that process so that it can go and do something for you. So it's freeing you up to get on with other particular tasks. At the same time, because we've had a new customer being created, I can also say, well, let's go and send a notification out in Teams. So instead of somebody sending an email out to everyone saying these are all the new customers we've got, or putting it into a spreadsheet and sending that out, every time a new customer gets created, I want to know about it. So it's just automating that process. And here you can see it sent me a notification. And again, it's told me there's a new customer being created. In this case, it's Scenic Rim Rail Trail. They've got a credit limit of 20,000, and the salesperson is Alice, and there is their website. And again, that could be a hyperlink if you wanted to. So again, it's just doing all these little tasks that we would normally have to do ourselves. We can actually now get them automated. Within Business Central, I've got my customer listing here. And one of the things I have noticed is with this particular customer, there's one here called Trade Research. I go through and I have a look and I see, well, he's got quite a high balance, but he's only got a balance of 10,000. Well, I'm going, you know what, I need someone to look into that. So I could go ahead, put the information into email and send it to them. But it's very quick and easy for me to just go, you know what, let me just share that to Teams. And I'm going to share that with my workmate, Steve. So I send that off to Steve. He gets the message, yes, Steve, please can you review the credit limit? Up pops the business card. And all Steve will need to do is actually just click on that link details. Now, what it's doing, it is going back into Business Central, and it is grabbing that information and bringing it back. And then Steve can look at it. Steve does not have to open up Business Central. As long as he's got the right permissions, he can actually look at this information. He's also got full drill down capabilities. And if need be, he can come in and actually edit that information. And then once he's closed that down, it goes back into Business Central. And what will happen from there is if there was any approval process, it will follow through from there. So that's just very quickly how we're using Outlook and Teams to actually save the work that we do, or save some of the tasks that we do. Nextly, I just wanted to show you how we're using Copilot. So sorry, just skip that. We can use Copilot to do our bank reconciliations. And as we all know, bank reconciliations can be very, very frustrating. So anything that can help us to get it done a lot quicker, we will certainly use that. And what's also nice is they will also do text to account mapping, which basically means as it learns as new items come in on your bank statements, it knows it will go back to your general ledger and have a look and see, maybe we should be using this particular account, and it can save it. So it's going to help us with our future reconciliations. Then from there, I'm going to show you quickly how we can generate marketing text with Copilot. And this is very useful if you've got a lot of new items, you've got a website and you need to upload descriptions. It will scan some of the fields on the actual records. It will then generate some text. And once you're happy with it, you can upload that. And then lastly, I'm just going to show you sales orders, how we can actually generate them from Copilot. Or from an email. So let's start off with our bank reconciliation. So I'm just going into my bank recon. And from here, you can see automatically I have my reconcile with Copilot pop up. So all I need to do in this case is click on here, choose the bank account that I want to use. So in this case, I'm going to use my CBA account. And then I'm just going to import my transactions. Now, at the moment, I'm just putting in a manual file, but if you do have bank feeds, we can use that as well. We don't have to go through this particular step. So here it's picked up my last statement date, and now I say generate. So what it's now doing is it's obviously going through Business Central will actually do its mapping as much as it can possibly do. So you can see here, it's managed to map 14 out of 21 lines, and I can very quickly go into there and just see which lines it's actually matched. Then you'll notice in here that it's found Copilot's also managed to match 3 of them for me. And you can see in this case, there was actually someone sent in a payment and they've got 2 invoice numbers. And you can see it's actually showing me here that it's actually picked up those 2 particular references, and it's showing me the 2 amounts in there. And there's also a couple of others there. Now, if I'm happy with that, I can keep it. If I'm not, I can discard it and start again. But you notice it hasn't quite matched everything. So let's just go in and keep this. It will now open up my bank reconciliation for me. So anything in green here, hopefully you can see the different colors. So anything in green is what has been matched. So let's look at the things that have not been matched. So in this case, you can see these ones haven't. And I might go, right, these ones are new, they've come in. Let me push them through into the general ledger, because obviously there's no transactions on this side for it to match. I can then come back. And again, using Copilot, I'm going to say, well, go and find those accounts where it thinks it should go to. So it's going to go off. It's going to scour my chart of accounts. And it's then going to choose the most suitable account that it can find for me. In this case, at the bottom here, it says, do you want to actually post to 8530? In this case, I can have a quick look and see which account that is. Repairs and maintenance for my vehicles, that's fine. It's quite happy to pick that up. And if need be, I can then come in and say that. And as you can see, I can save it. So for future uses, it will actually pick that up for me. And then again, in some cases, it hasn't quite found it, but I could actually come in, go and find that. So I might just want to come in and look in here and choose staff. Let me just go back to staff, or let's just go office. Let's go and find something with office. We'll use supplies and cleaning for this case. And it can then save that, and I will save that for future use. So if we have birthday cakes in the future, it will know where to go. I can then keep that. And at the same time, it would also post the transaction through to the general ledger. And then once we finish with that, we can actually come back and continue with our reconciliation. So basically, we're just getting Copilot to actually help us move forward and do a lot of that work for us. The next one I wanted to show you was the marketing text. Now, for some of you who have got websites, one of the big things is coming up with interesting descriptions. So in this case, I've got my watch in here, and what Copilot will actually do for me is it will generate that, as I said, the marketing text that can go up onto the actual website. So I can see here it has created some. And what it will do is it will actually come in, it scours the actual item card, it looks at the description, it will look at the category, it will also look at the picture. And in this case, we've got some attributes that will look at that. And then from there, it will actually choose or come up with a description for us. Now, as we know, if you've got lots of new products, it's going to take a lot of time to do this, especially when your products are very, very similar. In this case, we can use Copilot to do that. It will also say to you, well, what kind of tone do you want to actually use? And I might say, well, like a formal message. What kind of format do I want? Just a tagline, a paragraph, in this case, a tagline and a paragraph. And what's my emphasis? So let's look at sustainability, and we can regenerate. So it's now taking all that information plus all the different formats that I wanted down here, and it's now come back with our description. I've also got the ability within here to actually take some of this, because remember, this will go up to my website. I may want to highlight it, put it in color, and also I put it into italics. And once I'm happy with it, I can then keep that information and then obviously submit it up to my e-commerce website. So that's just getting Copilot to assist us with a very laborious task. Now, last but not least, creating sales orders with the assistance of Copilot. So let's come back into here. Let's go into sales orders. I've started a sales order just to get us going for time purposes. So if I come into here I've created a sales order for Mr. Davidson. He wants to buy something. And what I'm actually going to do, so I've set up all the information, but I'm actually going to take an email that Adair has sent me. And Adair says, you know, he's obviously purchased stuff from us before. He was very happy with it. He's now interested in a black office desk. In fact, he wants a couple here. He wants 2. He's also got, he wants some more blue office chairs, and he wants 4. So I can take that, come down to my lines, and use Copilot where it says suggest sales lines. Just come in and I can put my email in there from Adair. As you can see, it's all come through. And what I want to do is I want to, just because I'm quite interested, is go lines and confidence and then generate. So it's now going to go through my catalog of items and go and find things that would match that. But more importantly, I'm going to see what terms it actually used to find those particular matches. So you can see here it's looking for office desk and office chair. So it has scoured that email, it's picked up those 2 particular items, and it's now going through all my items in the catalog. And here it comes. And again, I can see it's got a high confidence, and those were the terms that it actually used. I could come back and actually change that if I wanted to. We also have prompts, so we can say like copy lines from our previous order or from our last invoice, or I could, in top of this, added onto this, I could also add extra line items in here as well. But once I've got the information, I can then generate it. So again, I'm just going to go through this again. Just going to go and have a look. And you'll notice it's also, even though Adair had typed the word 2 and 4 as in a word, it now has translated that to the actual numeric. And then once it's done that, I can quite happily go, yeah, I'm happy with the choices it's made, or go and choose something else, insert it, and there it is. The sales order lines have actually now been created from my email. So with that, I'll hand back to Adair.
Thank you very much, Lynn. And look, every single coming out with Copilot. And although I'm sure some of those things might be relevant to some people, others it won't be. But again, please see how more and more in your business, I guess everyone does bank reconciliations, but more and more we're just seeing more use cases for Copilot coming in to applications. And again, we're obviously demonstrating the Microsoft applications, but no, we're seeing that throughout, the Sage applications, MIV applications as well. The last sort of scenario I thought, just to demonstrate, I guess, that how the cloud is enabling, the way that you interact with an ERP system to be very different. I've just got a quick video here and another one of the Microsoft applications about how you can, or in this situation, just being responsive to changes in demand. For example, you've already got purchase orders, demand changes. How do you meet the supply and demand challenges that can happen every day to a supply chain? So I'll just show you this one.
An unexpected surge in demand for audio devices leads to an immediate response from demand planning. Purchase orders are dispatched automatically to vendors. Many confirm swiftly, but some vendors can't meet their commitments. The updated procurement plan is already in motion. This is where Microsoft Copilot and Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management steps in. With Copilot's guidance, the user accesses the confirmed purchase orders workspace to evaluate the current status. The system then highlights potential vendor modifications and their downstream impact. From reallocating resources to negotiating with alternative vendors, Copilot provides actionable solutions. Searching for alternatives is made easy. With just a click, the user gets suggestions. For example, in this case, a standard crossover. Multiple alternatives pop up. Our purchaser is now empowered to make informed decisions swiftly. Want to know how to apply these alternatives in your production order? Copilot breaks it down step by step, making the process transparent and straightforward, and it can even execute these steps for the user. With this latest innovation in Dynamics 365, supply chain teams are empowered with conversational help to find the next best action while in the flow of work, increasing their productivity, collaboration, and performance.
Yeah, good example there. Great. Just the last sort of section, just Cloud ERP, just the nature of it, does enable different strategies to move it that many organizations might not have thought of, and I'll particularly around prototyping. So I'll just touch on some of the implementation methodologies and also touch on something that Microsoft's doing that we're finding very, very innovative and used a fair bit. But just to touch on, a Cloud ERP system, one of its inherent benefits is that it is much easier to get a prototype running because the vendor's looking after the IT infrastructure and you don't have to worry about that. Typically, we're seeing that prototyping is a big part of our implementations, and then you can spin up an instance, prototype, and then many times, depending on the situations, we're taking that prototype into user acceptance testing and then going from there. So obviously when you move to a Cloud ERP system, yes, you can go through a typical implementation that you may have done to get on the application you are now, but just being able to spin up environments, test things a bit better, enables the project teams typically to work a little bit more dynamically. If you're in a situation whereby it's going to be more of an upgrade process, again, I won't delve too much in this because everyone's going to be a bit different, but depending on how much you want to improve your processes, do you want to review the new functions? Do you want to review your customizations? How important is your historical data? Do you want to do a phased go live approach? And then obviously just considerations around cost and time. The way that we upgrade from an on-premise version to a cloud version can change very differently compared to what a typical implementation would be. So, things like we take your current system, we configure that prototype because, MicroChannel, we will hopefully be your partner. We understand your current system, get our team members to configure the Cloud ERP system based upon our knowledge of your current system and then prototype that. Sometimes we have the option to do a full technical upgrade, which might bring across your historical data. Many times we're still not taking across historical data, but some customers find that it's important. Depending on if there are areas that you're happy with in your current on-premise system, we can just upgrade those areas, but do a bit of a re-implementation in those areas where you'll know that you're not as efficient as you want to be. And typically there are a fair amount of upgrade or migration tools that cloud allows for a data perspective or a functionality perspective, depending on where you're coming from. But again, there's a lot of considerations there that we are helping our customers go through. Look, and last thing, obviously, Microsoft's a big one of the vendors that we work with. If you are looking at a Microsoft ERP system, look, obviously you need to work with a Microsoft ERP vendor. If you're on this webinar today and you've got a current Microsoft ERP vendor, obviously if they know their business, work with them. They're the right partner to work with. If you don't have one, obviously MicroChannel would love to engage with you. But Microsoft is now providing funding before you commit to these Dynamics 365 applications that we've showcased today, to help you just increase your confidence if you need to justify or create a business case. Microsoft is giving funding that we can work with you to do that. And at the end of the day, just reduce the risk and the cost of that implementation. And just some of these activities that Microsoft is funding us. And there's 5 here, but one's called Envisioning, where we work with you to document what you want your future state to look like. What are the things that you want to get out of Cloud ERP? We document that. We assess that against the solutions that we have available. We can go through the benefits if you, particularly from a business case perspective, go through a business value assessment. We go, oh, these are the areas where we think you're going to get value. Obviously use that prototyping to do a tailored demonstration. And Microsoft is even paying to do deployment plans to get from your current on-premise state to your future state to get those benefits. Now, Microsoft is paying us to work with you to do that deployment plan. So again, take some of your time, but no cost to get to that confidence. That's something wonderful that Microsoft, being one of our valued vendors, is doing, that we thought on this moving to the Cloud ERP webinar was important to state. But look, that was it. Look, hopefully there was a lot of information today. From a very technical perspective to a functional perspective. We hope that you got great value out of it. We will be sending out an email shortly just to get your feedback from this, what we did well, where you think we could do better, because we'd like to do webinars like this more often. So getting your feedback is very important. But look, please feel free to reach out to me. Your details there. You're probably going to get an email shortly from one of our team members, obviously. Please feel free to speak with them. But look, have a wonderful day. We hope you enjoyed that last hour and got value out of it. And hopefully we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for your time.